Please subscribe to our channel for more nature stories, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Deep in the forests of Florida lies a secret almost too surprising to believe. Here, wild monkeys live free. Today, we uncover their story. The river runs slow and wide through the heart of Florida, carrying with it the golden reflections of morning light. Cypress trees rise tall on either bank, their roots twisting like ancient sculptures, draped in veils of Spanish moss that sway gently in the humid breeze. Beneath this cathedral of green, the forest stirs with voices both familiar and strange. Birds call, frogs croak, and from somewhere in the canopy comes a sound that seems out of place, a rolling chorus of cries and chatter that belongs not to the Americas, but to the wild jungles of Asia. It is the voice of the rhesus macaque, and here, against all odds, it has found a home. They are not native to these lands. Nearly a century ago, when Florida was still carving its name as a place of strange wonders and curiosities, a riverboat operator loosed a handful of monkeys into the Silver Springs forests to delight tourists. No one then could have guessed how easily they would take root. Yet they did, adapting swiftly, turning cypress swamps and palm hammocks into their playground. Today, the forest carries their legacy. Hundreds of monkeys spread across the region, living, loving, and raising their young as though the state were always theirs. The air is thick with the smell of wet leaves and river mud, alive with the buzz of cicadas. Troops of macaques move along the branches overhead, families bound together by bonds of blood and loyalty. Mothers cling tightly to their infants, while juveniles leap recklessly between limbs, daring gravity with each playful arc. At the edges of the troop, males posture and pace, their eyes ever watchful for rivals, for threats, or for the subtle signals of females who carry within them the possibility of the next generation. For these monkeys, reproduction is not just instinct, it is survival written into every heartbeat. The future of the troop depends on it, for only through birth and renewal can they outlast predators, disease, and the long shadow of human encroachment. Each new infant strengthens their lineage, diversifies their blood, and ensures that the legacy of Florida's macaques will endure another season. It is a story as old as life itself, yet every spring it feels new again, as the forest becomes charged with tension, rivalry, and the fragile beginnings of love. The season of courtship arrives as the coolness of winter fades into the warmth of Florida's spring. Hormones surge, and the forest fills with change. Females come into estrus, their bodies sending out signals too subtle for the human eye yet unmistakable to the troop. The scent of readiness drifts through the canopy, and the males respond. The air hums with anticipation, as though even the leaves can sense what is about to unfold. But what follows is not a scramble of chaos, it is a dance. Courtship among macaques is delicate, a careful weaving of gestures and trust. A male will approach a female slowly, lowering his head, extending his hand, offering comfort instead of aggression. He grooms her fur, searching for parasites but more importantly offering reassurance, a quiet message that says, "I see you, I choose you." She may turn away, or she may accept, leaning closer, allowing his touch. In these moments, alliances are formed, not just between individuals but between families, shaping the politics of the troop for months to come. Not every romance is gentle. High-ranking males fight for dominance, their calls echoing through the forest like thunder. They bare their teeth, clash in sudden bursts of violence, and then retreat, blood rarely spilled but pride deeply measured. To win a place near the females is to win the right to father the next generation, and that right is worth every risk. Yet strength is not always the deciding factor. In the shadows of these rivalries, quieter males, patient, clever, persistent, often find their chance. By offering steady companionship, by grooming when others fight, by waiting when others rush, they sometimes win the greatest prize, trust. The forest bears witness to this ritual year after year, and though the setting may seem strange, the rivers of Florida instead of the foothills of India, the rhythm remains unchanged. Across the world, primates dance the same eternal steps, driven by instincts written in their very bones. When at last the time is right, fertilization takes place. It is not a spectacle, not something the forest pauses to admire. It is a quiet exchange, a moment where sperm meets egg, where potential sparks into life unseen. Inside the female's body, the fertilized egg begins its secret journey, attaching itself to the walls of the uterus, where it will grow over months into something far greater than the sum of its parts. In that instant, the next generation of Florida's monkeys has already begun. The forest carries on, unaware of the miracle hidden within. The river still flows, the birds still call, and the troop moves through its daily rhythms. Yet everything has changed. A new life is on its way, and with it, the balance of the troop will shift again. Bonds will deepen, rivalries will reignite, and the story of survival will continue. There is a beauty in how ordinary it all seems. To the macaques, this is not spectacle, not drama, it is life. It is the continuation of what their ancestors began long before they were carried across oceans, long before tourists snapped photographs at Silver Springs. It is the echo of a truth that spans continents, that family loyalty and renewal lie at the heart of every living thing. The sun begins to sink over the water, painting the sky in streaks of gold and crimson. The troop settles into the canopy, young monkeys curling into the safety of their mother's arms, elders finding their places on the higher branches where the air is cool. Below, the river whispers its endless song, carrying reflections of trees and sky toward the horizon. Somewhere in the shadows, a male sits apart, watching the troop, waiting for his moment. Somewhere else, a female lingers, her eyes calm, her future already stirring within her. Mist drifts lazily above the wetlands, blurring the line between water and sky as dawn breaks across the Florida wilderness. The cries of monkeys filter through the canopy, soft at first, then rising into a chorus that seems to stir the forest awake. The season of courtship has ended. The battles for dominance have quieted. And now, in the stillness of spring, a more intimate story unfolds, one of patience, growth, and the quiet courage of mothers preparing to bring new life into the world. For the female macaques, pregnancy is a journey carried not just within their bodies but within the structure of their society. They continue their daily routines, leaping, foraging, grooming, but there is a subtle difference in the way they move. Their steps slow. Their eyes soften. Other members of the troop seem to sense the change. Grooming becomes more than ritual, it is reassurance, an offering of comfort and care as the weeks stretch on. In their bellies, tiny sparks of life take shape, growing day by day into beings that will soon cling to fur and call for milk beneath the canopy. Inside the womb, the transformation is remarkable. A cluster of cells becomes a beating heart. Bones harden. Limbs lengthen. Fingers, delicate as threads of moss, form and flex. It is a miracle of repetition, ancient and familiar, and yet astonishing each time it happens. To look at these mothers, swelling with new life, is to see echoes of ourselves. Scientists have long studied macaques for this reason. Their biology mirrors our own in ways that remind us how closely linked we are. 93% of their DNA is ours, and the story of their children's beginnings is, in many ways, the story of our own. When the moment of birth arrives, it is not accompanied by fanfare. It is quiet, hidden, as though the forest itself leans in to protect the mother. Often she finds a place apart from the troop, a sheltered patch of ground or a high branch where the air is still. And there, with only the sound of wind and water to bear witness, she brings her child into the world. A single infant, fragile and impossibly small, emerges into the warmth of the forest. Its first instinct is simple and absolute, to cling. With tiny hands and feet, it grasps its mother's chest, pressing close to her heartbeat, never letting go. From that instant, survival is not hers alone. The bond is unbreakable. For months, the infant will know no other home than the shelter of her fur, the rhythm of her steps, the nourishment of her milk. She cradles the newborn with a devotion that seems limitless, carrying it as she forages, as she grooms, as she navigates the complex social currents of troop life. The cries of the infant are sharp and insistent, but they are answered every time with touch, with warmth, with the steady presence of a mother who has done what generations before her have done, given her child a chance. Weeks turn to months, and curiosity begins to stir in the young. At first, they peek out from their mother's arms, wide eyes drinking in the green blur of leaves and the glimmer of river water below. Then they climb onto her back, gripping tightly as she leaps across branches. Soon they toddle onto the forest floor, stumbling toward other youngsters, drawn to the joy of play. What looks like games, chasing, tumbling, wrestling, are lessons in survival. In these moments, they learn balance, strength, and the intricate rules of their society. Parenting in macaque society is never solitary. Mothers may be the anchors, but others join in the care. Females without infants of their own step forward as helpers. Aunties who cradle the young, groom them, or simply watch over them as mothers forage. Juveniles, too, are drawn to the babies, fascinated by their cries and movements. Even dominant males, though fierce in battle, sometimes linger at the edges of play, their silent presence a shield against predators. In this way, every birth is not just for one mother but for the troop. Every child belongs to the forest family. Yet outside these bonds lies a harsher truth. Florida's macaques are not native, and their presence has long sparked debate. Some see them as an invasive threat, a species that does not belong, competing with native wildlife for food and space. Others argue for their removal, their containment, their erasure from the very forest they have come to define. But to stand in Silver Springs or along the St. Johns River and see them, leaping, nursing, carrying their young, feels like witnessing a miracle too rare to dismiss. They are proof that nature adapts, that life takes root in places no one expects. For visitors, catching a glimpse of these monkeys can feel like stepping into another world. Families paddling kayaks on the river pause as the branches rustle overhead, children pointing wide-eyed as a mother cradles her infant just a few feet away. Photographers lift their lenses, tourists whisper in awe. The monkeys, indifferent to human wonder, go on with their lives. But in that fleeting moment, a connection is made. We are reminded that the wild is not a distant spectacle, it is here, close to us, shaping the same land we walk upon. The truth is that their story mirrors the story of wildlife everywhere. Every creature depends on the same fragile threads: clean water, safe shelter, freedom from human pressure. Protecting the forests that shelter Florida's monkeys means protecting the countless birds that nest in the cypress, the reptiles that bask on the banks, the insects that hum in the air. Conservation is never for one species alone. It is for the entire chorus of life that makes these places whole. There are ways to help, even for those far from Florida's forests. Supporting national and local wildlife reserves ensures habitats remain safe. Joining citizen science projects brings valuable knowledge about primate behavior and ecosystem health. Perhaps most important, respecting wildlife, keeping distance, never feeding, never interfering, ensures that the monkeys remain wild, living on their own terms. Small acts of care ripple outward, preserving not just a troop of macaques but the greater story of biodiversity itself.